Shalom, shalom and welcome. Welcome to White Robes family. My name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I am compelled to present to those who are drawn by the Almighty Father to Yahusha Mashyach. This is part 6 of a series entitled The Closing Scroll. It is a series where I present updates, signs, and warnings and instructions as it relates to habitable places decreasing upon the face of this earth. In this series, part 6, I want to address information. What's true, what's hidden, or fake. Information, true, hidden, or fake. My brothers and sisters, before I get into this installment of the Closing Scroll, part 6, let me read the following. Warning and disclaimer. The information contained in White Robes family represent instructions and warnings to individuals who believe they are drawn by the Almighty Creator Yahuah to Yahusha Mashyach. The content presented centers around end-time realities. Please be advised this site is not intended for children under 16 years of age due to its content, and that is to be compliant with various media platforms that I use, my brothers and sisters. By continuing forward, you agree to hold Symmanayah harmless of any influence and or actions that arise as a result of watching, listening, and reviewing the content presented. The views expressed do not reflect the owners, management, and or shareholders of this media platform. Please also note that I am not affiliated with anyone or organization with similar names. With that said, let's get into it, O Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, make no mistake, if you took the challenge that I pose as it relates to the closing scroll, as it relates to habitable places shrinking, as it relates to like the walls closing in, back to the promised land, back to the land where life began, then you will understand the realities of what's occurring. You will also begin to discern how the days will be shortened, because in movement from the farthest west towards the promised land, our times are cut short. My brothers and sisters, the scroll is closing, whether we realize it or not, whether we want to admit it or not, whether we want to discuss it or not. Habitable places are shrinking. Currently, my brothers and sisters, there are few or several countries in Eastern Africa that are experiencing an onslaught of locusts. They have moved in parts of the Middle East, into Pakistan, and either they're there or they're on a trajectory to parts of China. We will also see locusts and pestilences in other countries, my brothers and sisters. Do you think that there could be widespread fire on the continent of Australia with all these deaths of their wildlife, and we not start to see pestilence, possibly diseases? We are aware of the coronavirus, the N coronavirus, COVID-19. They've added these names to dilute the rhetoric and the narrative, my brothers and sisters, in more ways than many. Yashar'al, as end times ramp up, as we begin to see forced migrations, forced movement, make no mistake, it is coming, and it will reach your doorstep as well. If you are physically alive, you will witness such. Now, the key element in this migration, my brothers and sisters, is knowing, having information, being informed. Know this, my brothers and sisters, discernment is when the Spirit of Yahusha open our eyes and reveal things to us. There's a lot of information as it relates to habitable places shrinking, forcing migrations. My brothers and sisters, if you took a time to reach out to a brother or sister or someone close to someone in South America that desires to move northward into the United States, you will find that much of the migration is because of famine, food shortages. Believe it or not, that's the core of the forced migration. Even in economics, my brothers and sisters, if we ask, well, what are they going to do with the money or the wealth they receive? It's first and foremost the sustainable items, food and fresh water in a safe place. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, the wicked one is flooding the airways, the internet, with fake news, wicked information, propaganda, narratives that can be very time-consuming in one's effort to identify what is real and what is true. It's time to begin to witness in response to those that are actually being led by the Almighty Father. It's time to know how to vet and examine individuals we come in contact with, that we desire to fellowship with. It's time to know how to discern whether they are indeed our brother or our sister. It's time to witness what they're saying, what they're doing, and respond by either embracing and joining or coming away from such. It's time to earnestly seek to discern whether the information we receiving is true, and it's time to trust that hidden things will be revealed. You see, my brothers and sisters, I recently heard a video clip on YouTube. Now, how true is it remains to be seen, but it was said that the state of Florida was hiding the number of coronavirus, those infected with the COVID-19, under the guise of confidentiality. But someone examined the law that they were quoting, and the law had exceptions. And the disease, the COVID-19, met that exception where it should be released how many cases are in Florida. But here's the thing, my brothers and sisters. Look at China right now, and you will see where they've had to shut down manufacturing, production plants. Many of us fail to realize that China is one of the #1 food producers in the world, and rightfully so, since it has over 1.3 billion people. India is one of the largest food producers, and it has 1.2 billion people. Are you aware when you start quarantining, when you put a population under quarantine, when you shut down production of things in food processing plants, there's a ripple effect. It not only hurts the economy, it hurts one's ability to sustain themselves. So as the world witnessed what is happening in China and what is beginning to happen in other countries as it relates to this COVID-19, we are about to see, my brothers and sisters, how fragile the global economy is. We are about to see how fragile United States economy is. We are about to see how these debtor nations, including the United States, and maybe I'm saying that wrong, but those that are in heavy debt, we are about to see how fragile things are. It is said that China is considering pushing digital currency in an effort to slow down the epidemic of COVID-19. If you look around, my brothers and sisters, there are symptoms and evidence and behaviors that's encouraging people to lean more on digital payment methods opposed to cash. There used to be a time when people carried a lot of cash in their purse or wallet on their being, but now more and more people are using debit cards, credit cards, easy pay by the phones, whether it be Apple Pay or Android Pay or Samsung Pay or whatever, or whether it be the Cash Apps, Venmo, Cash App, Zelle. Money is moving through many different ways, my brothers and sisters. And we are becoming hooked on the idea of not having to worry about carrying cash. Now you might say, well, what does this have to do with the closing scroll? I say to you, my brothers and sisters, I did a recording talking about the real ID and the national IDs that various countries are implementing. You see, when it comes to economics, my brothers and sisters, it will get to the point where these non-cash systems, these more controlling systems, will cause a hiccup, a delay, restrictions on movement. Now I ask you, my brothers and sisters, would you move into a country, a province, a city, a state, if you knew there was restrictions on how you can spend? If there was restrictions on what you can buy, how you can buy it, because of the vendors' refusal to take cash and want only digital currencies or electronic payments? Would you consider that habitable? If it's forcing you to abandon various liberties? You see, my brothers and sisters, there are many moving parts that will make various areas less attractive, from agriculture, from food, to shortage of food, to lack of fresh, clean, drinkable water, to wildfires. My brothers and sisters, we can seek to discern the leaders chosen by the Most High who are receiving messages from the Most High. We can discern who the chosen watchmen among us are and listen to the instructions and warnings they provide. Or we can jump into that pool of information that could be fake, could be true. It could be something to hide what is realistically occurring and unfolding. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to press into the words of the Most High and discern what he is saying through us, to us, one towards another. My brothers and sisters, as we find ourselves pressing into this closing scroll, the need to adjust and adapt to emerging truths is now. Adjusting and adapting to emerging truth, that need is now. Let me read something, O Yashar'al. Even though that there may be states hiding their coronavirus infected individuals or other diseases such as measles. Remember the measles outbreak? Haven't heard much about it. Believe it or not, my brothers and sisters, some of these diseases are specific to certain demographics. But they are hiding that truth. They're not showing the majority of those who have measles what nationality, what race they are. Those who are infected with the coronavirus and its spread, they're not saying what nationality or what race. You see, nationality could be if the person was born in the United States, then they say they're a U.S. citizen. But I'm saying in terms of race. You see, my brothers and sisters, there is much that has been hidden from us who are true Hebrews, who are the Abrahym of the world, chosen by the Almighty Father. There is much to say about the things that have been hidden. But as the truth come out, we see it coming out in the midst of people being moved, people facing forced migration, and all the things that are unfolding regarding end times, my brothers and sisters. We must adjust adjust. We must adapt, for we are in the midst of it all until we find ourselves gathered to that place where the Most High would have us have our last breath physically, or until we find ourselves being gathered from the four corners of the earth. Let me read the following, Yashar'al. Matthew 5:14 say, "You are the light of the world. It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain." We, the light of the world, my brothers and sisters, we will witness as we begin to come together, as the scroll begins to close, as habitable places begin to shrink. We will see the set-apart children of Yashar'al become concentrated together, unified, and gathered from the four corners of the earth. We will also witness the wicked being concentrated, captivated, and brought to that final area before they march against the set-apart children of Yahuah. Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, the things that are hidden will be revealed. It's impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain. And I say to you, O Yashar'al, we will establish our central point around the true Mount Sinai, which is currently known as Jabal al-Lawz in the northwest quadrant of what is now known as the Middle East and Saudi Arabia. Matthew 10:26 says, "Therefore do not fear them, for whatever is covered shall be revealed, whatever is hidden shall be made known." It's time to establish a ready mind, body, and soul, my brothers and sisters. You see, whether a state or city is afraid of losing their economics, losing jobs, shutting down and quarantining a city or a state, whether they're doing things to mitigate one coming to know what's really happening, or they're doing things to hide it because they don't want their economies to be collapsed. What's hidden will be revealed, my brothers and sisters. I just read it. For whatever is covered shall be revealed. Matthew 10:26. China exacting wartime laws. Countries that exacting and executing quarantines to fight viruses, diseases, spread of diseases. Different laws, different movement strategies. For there are many who will flee certain countries and locales and municipalities if restrictions are put on them. There are going to be many that will be caught within the borders. Movement have begun, O Yashar'al, and it is important for us to begin to realize that in spite of the different laws, the Almighty Father is calling out to his children. What do you hear? What do you see? What do you discern? Let me continue. Yashar'al, I've read Isaiah 11:12, speaking of being gathered from the four corners of the earth. I've read from Isaiah 43 when it talks about him gathering us, those that he has chosen for his esteem. Let me now share another passage regarding the gathering, my brothers and sisters. And as I stated, adjusting and adapting to changing shelter is another factor. For in forced movement, we will find that the homes, the residence, the homes, the apartments, the tents, the mobile homes, the car, wherever we are resting our head for shelter is about to change. Consider Ezekiel 36:22-24. It reads, Therefore say to the house of Yashar'al, Thus saith the Master, Yahuah, I do not do this for your sake, O house of Yashar'al, but for my set-apart name's sake, which you have profaned among the nations wherever you went. And I shall set apart my great name, which has been profaned among the nations, which you have profaned in their midst. And the nations shall know that I am Yahuah, declares the Master Yahuah, when I am set apart in you before their eyes. And I shall take you from among the nations, and I shall gather you out of all lands, and I shall bring you into your own land. My brothers and sisters, Are you ready for change? Ask questions, vet, seek to discern. Hear, O Yashar'al. The closing scroll has begun. I've stated before, my brothers and sisters, the need to witness the evidence. Search the news that is true. One way is to find someone who knows someone that lives in there. This is the age of whistleblowers. This is the age where people's lips are becoming loose to speak the truth. In spite of fake news, in spite of those trying to hide it, evidence will surface. It is promised by the Almighty Father. My brothers and sisters, I've challenged you, I've invited you, I've suggested, I've instructed you to mark an X on places becoming uninhabitable during these end times, and you will begin to see a virtual arrow pointing to the promised land. As of February 21st, 2020, 10 p.m., the coronavirus COVID-19 on the Johns Hopkins University site reflected 77,659 people infected with COVID-19, 2,360 deaths. Watch, O Yashar'al. When you begin to see large numbers of deaths, these are places people don't want to be. And they will leave, they will flee. Some have fled, some have evacuated, some have migrated. It is said that in China alone, over 5 million people have fled out of China in their effort to contain the COVID-19. The United States have been slow to report its numbers, and I believe they are rightfully so because the economies are so fragile. Begin to look at where these disease-infected individuals are being planted, my brothers and sisters. Begin to look at the landscape of where various food originate. And if there's an outbreak of COVID-19 in any other disease in Florida, in California, in the Corn Belt, it will begin to wreak havoc on food availability, my brothers and sisters. Tonight, I noticed that the U.S. posted on Johns Hopkins 35 infected. Do you honestly believe that's an accurate number? And some might say, you're fear-mongering. Using those words, my brothers and sisters, causes people to be lazy and not pay attention. Using those words is often used to dismiss the realities of what we're facing. Choose this day whom you will serve. Choose this day whom you will seek to discern, worship, and obey, O Yashar'al. It doesn't take much. Mark an X on places becoming uninhabitable, and you will see the virtual arrow pointing back to the promised land. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, let me read the following as we continue. And I say to you, hear, O set apart Yashar'al, discern preparations, timing, leadership, and when to move. There will be intermittent movement from one city to the next, a state to the next, as we find ourselves traveling, some from one province to the next, some from one country to the next. There will be intermittent movement, my brothers and sisters. Discern the set-apart leaders of Yashar'al so that you're not led astray. Discover when to prepare and when to act, when to move. Identify what you have been chosen to do, O set-apart family. There will be forced migrations. Where have you chosen to be during these unfolding times, my brothers and sisters? Are you confident that you selected the right place, the right position? What instructions are you receiving regarding what must come to be to fulfill what is written? Yashar'al, or Yashar'al, let me say more. Let's consider the cues or clues. A cue It's an action that lets me know, oh, I'm up next. A cue is something to get my attention. Clues are things that provide systematic evidence to uncover things that are hidden. Clues are tidbits of information and actions that point to a bigger picture. Extreme humbling conditions are before us. Consider the following that are unfolding. Famine, food shortages. Remember I shared with you Genesis 47 chapter when they talked about selling themselves for food opposed to facing death. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, we will change our eating habits. Pestilence and disease will change the way we go about in our communities. And soon and very soon, it will have an effect on how we find ourselves moving. Are you going to be proactive and seek to discern what the Spirit of Yahusha is saying and move as he is directed? Are you going to recognize his watchman? Are you going to recognize him speaking through his children, one towards another? My brothers and sisters, discipline and judgment within the body of set-apart Yashar'al have begun to ramp up. Will you continue to fight with excuses? You know what I mean? Excuses? Disregarding what must be done? The time is now to witness what is occurring, O Yashar'al. Rising set-apart leadership, have you identified such? And if not, why not? There's so much that's unfolding before our very eyes. The scroll is closing, my brothers and sisters. These messages may seem to be too redundant, too repetitive, but there are those that won't get it until now. And there are those still won't get it. There will be those gathered and the left behind. The key is in the timing. The key is in discerning. The key is in obeying. Yes, my brothers and sisters, we will find ourselves taking some severe steps in the following days, making some strong decisions. We will find our emotions challenged, our mental health challenged. And there are those that are ordered by the Almighty Father who will do what is expected. And there are those that will be led astray. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, ask questions. Begin to look at who is providing you with the information that you need to hear to rise up in the strength that you are called, in the strength and position that you are called to do. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, the time is now. The time is now to prepare to let go. Prepare to release the things that have been a stronghold, my brothers and sisters. Prepare to walk away. Prepare to have the strength to not look back. Yashar'al, Yashar'al, the closing scroll has begun. He who recognizes it will recognize the need to lean into the voice of the Spirit of Yahuah and identify what must be done. Prepare to let go, my brothers and sisters. Prepare to look forward and not look back, or otherwise depression, sadness will overtake you. Be forewarned, O Yashar'al. There is more ahead of us than what's behind us. My brothers and sisters, I read this passage frequently, for it is important for us to recognize letting go. Let's consider key components, knowing who and what to take or leave behind. Matthew 19:29 and 30. And everyone who has left houses or brothers or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. My brothers and sisters. And it goes on to say, but many who are first shall be last, and the last first. Hear, O Yashar'al, there will be times to let go, to release. There will be times to embrace. We will meet strangers who desire to do the will of the Almighty Father. And because of their passion and desire to walk in obedience, the initial shock of being a stranger will go away, for we share the same thought. As it relates to doing the will of the Almighty Father, we share the same passion to grow in obedience and improve in worship and obedience to Him. Make no mistake, O Yashar'al. For some, you are being called now to move, to begin to migrate. Some are called sooner than others to prepare the way for others that will join them. Responsibility. Have you ever asked yourself, my brothers and sisters, why have such information come to my ears? My brothers and sisters, it's time to focus. It's time to seek to discern what information is true. It's time to be prepared to see the release of information that was once hidden, that is necessary for us to understand the signs of the times and what must be done, as we are directed by the chosen leaders of the Most High, or directly by His Spirit working in us, through us. Be advised, my brothers and sisters, current conditions will prove to be a time to focus, a time to know where to turn our attention, spiritually and literally, whether it be our eyes or our ears. O Yashar'al, let us discuss how we must be focused on what the Almighty Father is saying to us. The closing scroll. We will find, my brothers and sisters, that as the scroll begins to close even more, the need to be alert is paramount, it's critical, it's important. Discern and be ahead of the chaos, O Yashar'al. For the Most High have demonstrated and will continue to demonstrate that they are watchmen. They are servants of His who are echoing warnings and instructions. Are your mores, leaders, teachers, pastors, or bishops preparing you? Are they equipping you with the information you need if they are not around? If you are alone, are they providing the instruction you need to know what to do? Are they informing you that the Most High reign on the just and the unjust? Or are they among the leaders who are trying to sugarcoat things to have you think that all set apart Yashar'al will be brought to safety and everything's going to be all right? As long as you obey His 10 commandments, laws and statutes, physically everything's going to be all right. That's not true. Our spirit will be all right. But these bodies, just as I said, He reigned on the just and the unjust. So some of us will face widespread destruction. We will see it and we will die in it. Some of us will be killed for Yahusha's name. Some of us will be sheltered in place until the storm hits, to let people know that in spite of the storm, in spite of the plan of the Almighty Father unfolding, His words to you are the inward man lives forever. His words to you are these corruptible bodies will put on immortality and everlasting life through Yahusha, made possible through Yahusha Mashyach. Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, the time to be alert and ahead of the chaos is now. For He is calling different ones to begin to move. He is calling different ones to prepare. In some cases, it may not even be where you're gathered from the four corners. Some people, some brothers and sisters may be called to shelter together in a specific area to be a safe zone for those who are passing through on their journey back to the promised land. You see, my brothers and sisters, there's a lot of works, there's a lot of moving parts, and we must and we will grow to understand why some are chosen to fulfill being gathered and some are not. Make no mistake, my brothers and sisters, the plan of the Almighty Father will indeed prove that everlasting life is something that he made possible through Yahusha Mashyach. It's something that we possess, or Yashar'al. A deliverer exists. That deliverer will be one who will work in us to usher us into that last breath. Or that deliverer may be one that literally works in us, or through his chosen leaders to guide us back to the area where life began and await his physical return. My brothers and sisters, there are terms below, words below. Let these be a guide to some of the questions that you can formulate in your vetting, in your examining leaders, examining those whom you will fellowship with. Make no mistake, the scroll is closing. Betrayal will come. Things are occurring whether you want to acknowledge it or not. Many of us will find that our spirit is stirring, and we are pressed to be mindful of the signs of the times. We are pressed to recognize the importance of true information. We are pressed to recognize that there are things that are hidden that will come to the surface. Some things will come to the surface and it'll be too late for individuals in terms of doing what they think they shoulda, coulda, woulda done. Are we ready to see the things that are hidden come to light? Are we ready to know how we are to respond to the things that are hidden? Are we ready to begin to discern and identify when we're facing fake news, fake propaganda, fake narratives? There are even brothers and sisters among us who desire specific offices and positions in Yashar'al. So they're trying to take on the actions of specific offices, whether it be prophet, priest, sovereign, or king, bishop, or pastor, or moray. There are some who are mimicking what they think the position should be, and they are stumbling at it. And there are those whom the Most High is calling into certain offices, set apart offices such as prophet, morays, pastors, and bishops. Those being called, and some of them are stumbling. Some of them are being propped up by their mother, the sister, the brother, the wife. You know if you're being propped up by someone other than Yahusha Mashyach. And in the Most High's discipline, we will see those who are fed instructions by the Spirit of Yahusha, whether it be through the wife or the mother. That can happen. But there are some who just listening, oh, okay, all right, yeah, I'll do that. Make no mistake, you know if that shoe fits. We are to vet one another. We are to examine one another, including our mother, our brother, our sister, our wife, our father. Vet and ask questions. Make no mistake, O Yashar'al, what is hidden will become openly available for us to see, as it is needful for us to draw closer to the Most High. Remember it said, if possible, it would fool the very elect. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, the closing scroll. It's as though the walls are closing in where you can live. You can see it. It didn't have to be, well, that's Symmanayah's opinion. Look, take the challenge of the X, O Yashar'al. And when you witness the truth, when it is validated and confirmed before your very eyes, be prepared to respond and be prepared to receive the fruit of your response. My brothers and sisters, I've given you the latest number on COVID-19, at least as of 10 o'clock, February 21st, Eastern Time in the United States. I've given you warnings and notice about the burnings, about famine and drought. about food shortages emerging. I've given you warnings, my brothers and sisters, as to the times will come when you must leave someone closest to you, probably. My brothers and sisters, the day will come when some among us will holler, Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah for the warnings and the instructions and the directions that brought about a fulfilling and fruitful life in him. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, if you're receiving anything that resembles life, anything that draws you closer to the Most High Yahuah, anything that causes you to be obedient and lift up Yahusha Mashyach, consider subscribing to White Rose Family. Consider sharing with others. Ask questions. Let's talk. Let's pray. Let us behold and witness the actions and response that come before our very eyes as the Most High Father, in the name of Yahuah, who sent his Spirit, Yahuah, who sent his Spirit in Yahusha's name. Let us recognize what he is saying. Let us receive his words and prepare to respond. On that note, I say to you, my brother, my sister, my family, a warning will sound over and over and over until it's no longer needed. And sometimes in the things that I repeat, there may just be something new that you have not heard or have not recognized. There just may be something that triggers a response. What say you? On that note, my brothers and sisters, be encouraged. Our redemption draws near. Shalum.